Welcome to the Tale of Two Cities podcast. We are your hosts, Dominic Jenks and Jonas Mack. How's the day going, Jonas?
Oh, it's a little rough this morning. Started off sick, but we're here, ready to talk about this great story written by whatever his name is.
Yeah, Charles Dickens. I
Yep.
also had a pretty chill day. I'm making sure I know my stuff on this book, researching. But so as you may know, because the only person probably watching this is Mrs. Dunn. She has given us multiple questions to answer about the book as our requirement for the project. So we will be answering uh, most most of these questions if we have enough time. So they won't be the most in depth, but they will answer the questions hopefully. So I'll start off with this first question. What is the golden thread throughout the book, and why is it important? Jonas,
Well,
will you answer that one?
I will indeed. In my opinion, the golden thread is Lucy's hair. I think it's important because it symbolizes the hope for the people, and the golden thread leads people in the book and other characters. It helps bring the best in them out.
Okay. I don't think I have much of an opinion besides that. Um, because I'm a little bit confused by golden thread. Besides it being like just a
It's a symbol
symbol
of
of
hope.
hope.
Is
Yeah,
basically what it is.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because you see that through um uh even like the character like Carton, right? Although
Right.
he's kind of hopeless, he's still holding on to his love for Lucy,
For Lucy.
which ends like leads to him sacrificing his life for her.
Right.
Yes. I think we've answered the that enough.
Mm.
Okay, so here's another question: Who are the foils in the story, and did the and, and did hold up, and did the foils work? I hopefully I said correctly. I know we both have
You want to
theories,
start on
so
this one?
I will start. So the two people that I was thinking about was Sydney Carton and Charles Darnay, specifically because of the like opposites about them. Although they looked very
Right.
similar. Darnay is a good chivalrous family man, and
Right.
Sydney Carton is like a drunk. Which I mean, although Lucy ends up marrying Darnay, and Carton ends up uh, sacrificing his life with like the hopeless love that he has for her.
Right.
They
Right.
both are still like like tied and like make friends because of their equal love for Lucy. I mean, Sid like and it show because they're foils, they kind of like contradict or not. Well, they show the differences in
So
each
their
other.
characteristics contradict each other.
Yes. Yeah, Sydney is depressed, has low self esteem, and
Right.
Darnay is kind of a baller because he was,
Yep.
a nobleman in Paris.
He was that guy.
He was that man. Um, and but although Sydney has a rough start, he does become like turn out to be a G in the very end. You know,
He kind of is a small hero of the book.
Yeah, because although instead of being jealous of Darnay for marrying Lucy, his love is so strong for her that he saves Darnay from being executed and gets executed in his place. Uh,
Yeah.
so what are some foils that you thought about?
One set of foil characters I saw was Madame Defarge and Lucy.
Okay.
I see the foil as Madame Defarge is she's like she knits names of people who she wants to kill, and like this is all it shows like bad fate. And then Lucy, she has the golden thread, which is her hair.
Uh-huh.
She she unites people together and shows how good that people can be. Whereas Madame Defarge just she always just seems to have something bad going around with her, whereas Lucy's more like optimistic
That's true.
and
Yeah.
ready to do the next thing.
Yeah. And if you, I guess, like, you kind of notice there's that general vibe around Lucy. Like, okay, so she's got two dudes that love her. You know, her
And
family is
she
great. Everyone is, like,
right.
loving and whatever. But with Madame Defarge, she's,
She's
knitting
got a
the
whole lot of
names.
problems
Yes,
and
she's leading a bloody revolution. You know,
right, a rebellion.
and everything is like death revolved, and she ends up going to kill Lucy, which
And ends up
does
dying
not.
herself.
Yeah, so I guess like the general vibe around her is that it's just hatred and bad
Exactly.
people. Yeah. I that, yes, that's I. There's definitely more
There's
foils.
definitely many more, but those are like the main ones that I saw throughout the book.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. We could move on to the third question. I'll start and I'll answer this question. So what is the significance of knitting, wine, and footsteps in the story? Well, so we obviously know Madame Defarge, like she was knitting all like those names, and
Right.
so it's symbol of two things. First we see, like like you said before, it's a symbol of fate, and like all the names that she knits
Are
will
gonna
die,
die.
and it's like it's kind of a connection to, I guess, like Greek mythology, where like uh the fates would knit, measure, and like cut with string.
Like your soul is a string. If it was cut, you died.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
like a representation of that.
Yeah, and like another symbol is like the reference to the French peasants. Like just as she is knitting quietly and harmlessly, but will kill those whose like names have been knitted. The peasants of France are harmless, but will soon become angry and overtake the oppressive government. Which, I mean, the because she was kind of like running that whole shebang with the revolution. That's like it's honestly like parallel, like it's a parallel between her knitting and just the tension of, I guess, the
The whole
peasants.
situation of
Yeah,
the
because like when she lists all those names and it's a get going, it's like that's when
yeah.
the like revolution happens. Um,
Yep.
so then the wine. Defarge's wine cask is like a symbol of hunger and thirst of the people. The people were so hungry and thirsty. Like and like when the
Well, they
cask,
were being treated horribly.
yes, and
They
like
wanted their own power, their ability to do stuff.
yeah, like the when the wine cask broke and it spilled all over the ground. All the people like rushed over to it, started drinking out of it, and then like
It was nasty. It was
oh,
nasty, muddy.
dude, I just could not imagine, like, bro, licking off
Drinking
wine.
some
First
poop
of all,
wine.
if you like, bro, drinking wine off of like the poopy, garbagey sidewalk of Paris,
Yeah, that's
like,
nasty.
yeah, like that just shows the absolute like the conditions that the peasants were in that led them to do that. It shows like the symbol of like their thirst and political power
Right,
to
because they were
overthrow the
basically
oppressor
nothing.
oppressors. Yeah,
They were nothing. They were the conditions of Paris. They were trash,
yeah,
or considered to be trash.
yeah, and also like you see when the peasants who drank the wine were described as having bloody smears on their mouths, foreshadowing when the peasants would murder the aristocrats in those same streets. With so it could like
Right.
also be a symbol of like blood, because obviously red
There's going
wine
to be
looks like
bloodshed.
blood. Like okay,
Right.
it's if the Defarges, they have their wine thing, whatever place.
Business.
Yeah. And they're also the leaders of or they kind of run the whole
The
revolution. It
revolution or
kind of
whatever.
foreshadows the fact that there will be lots of bloodshed, which is what happens in the uh French Revolution. So
Right.
and so lastly for that question, what the footsteps represent. Um so footsteps throughout the book are used to symbolize the coming revolution. Like they're echoing footsteps symbolize like many
That
anonymous people.
something big is coming.
Yeah, and like who will be affected by the revolution.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we
I
answered.
think that pretty much sums up that question.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll bring it back to you. So why in the story won't Sidney Carton allow Lucy to love him?
Um, I think he won't let Lucy love him because he says that it's too late for him. Specifically in book two, chapter 13, he reveals that he loves her, but this love for her is hopeless because he knows his nature. Um, he knows there's no way to like redeem his past life. Like he was a drunk. He made poor life choices, and since he had made those bad choices, he will not let Lucy love him. He
Okay.
explains that he loves her still, but he's still willing to give up his life for her and anyone that she loves.
Yeah, that's yeah. Because I mean, if you think about it, if you truly love, if he truly loved Lucy this much that he knows that she's better
He
off
wants
with
what's best
someone
for her.
else, then yeah, it does show the love, but it also shows that he doesn't think that he is the right person for her, which
Right. He was selfless because he loved her so much. He gave her what was best,
yeah,
not
instead of
which wasn't
being
him.
yeah, yeah, which I mean, obviously we know that
I
leads to
mean that's a top G right there for me in my book.
we'll always bring it back to the fact that he sacrificed his life. Like, dude, I like thinking about that. Like, side note, um, like usually, like if you're friends with a broski, you both like a girl, and she ends up liking your broski. The jealousy that most people would have, like that's definitely what I would be.
Right.
Like,
Sure. For sure. For sure.
and I mean, obviously they weren't best friends at first, but they became friends because and acquaintances because of
Of their
the
love for
similar
Lucy.
love. Yeah, which the fact that he would go on to sacrifice his life because of his love for Lucy, like bro, that is just G move, G qualities there.
Yes. Big G.
Big G qualities. We like City. Although he was a drunk, he made big plays in the story.
Yes, he
Yeah.
indeed did.
All right. So the next question that we'll answer. So why in the story why does Charles Dickens kill Madame Defarge and not Mr. Defarge? And when I was thinking about this question, like if you think about it, like the theme is I thought the theme was kind of like love versus hatred. So it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense for Monsieur Defarge to get killed off because it doesn't really go along with that theme. Whereas Madame Defarge, she has hatred for you know, uh, whatever the Minettes, like Lucy and her daughter, and that's why she goes
Right.
to kill them, because of her past, you know, family being
Because of her
killed by,
family and
yes, being killed
right.
by Darnay's family, and then she marries Darnay and blah blah blah. So.
Right. Right. Right.
So in the I've like in the theme, Madame Defarge would be hatred, but Miss Pross would be like love, because Miss Pross wants to protect Lucy, and and but Madame Defarge has a gun to like kill them. So
Right.
by Madame Defarge dying and Miss Pross and Lucy hearing it, like kind of shows that love can triumph over triumph
Yeah.
over hatred and struggle, but it will not be without suffering. So like, although Miss Pross, overcame Madame Defarge by killing her, she still suffered hearing loss because of it, and it kind of
Right.
shows in the same way how like Cindy, he dies for Darnie because of his love for Lucy. So, uh, Defarge is an ally of Darnie, or Mr. Defarge. Mr. Defarge renounces Darnie and
Hmm.
denounces him in court. So he doesn't show like a general hatred against them or him,
Uh huh.
and so I don't think it would
It's not
support the
supporting that
love.
theme.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, although Mr. Defarge has like, or Monsieur Defarge has like a thing with the revolution, but he still like doesn't have anything against
Right.
Darnay.
He doesn't seem to be as quite into the problems with his wife.
Yeah, yeah, and he doesn't all like although he takes part in the revolution. uh Madame Defarge is still like, she is
She
more
had her own
focused
messes.
on the hatred and like
She's
killing.
focused on her revenge.
Yeah, and killing the specific people that she knits.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So now this question might be a little bit, and I know we both don't have a whole lot of notes about this one, but I think we can honestly talk about this top of our head. So, is the Tale of Two Cities a revenge story, or a love story?
I mean, I can see these going both ways, but I'll talk about the revenge side. I think it could be considered revenge because of how you see Madame Defarge seeking revenge for her family throughout the whole book. She never stops trying to kill the people to avenge her family. And then we can also see revenge through Gaspard. He was the guy whose kid was killed by the carriage,
Yeah.
and he tries to seek revenge by killing the people in the carriage,
Yeah.
and and then he ends up dying because of that. So I mean, throughout the story, that you see revenge on and on and on, and it
Yeah.
just never ends out good for those people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And there's definitely multiple different themes,
Oh,
but
there's many more.
as far as revenge, yeah, what you said would be definitely be true. Uh yeah, like specifically like how I talked about, Madame Defarge specifically being the main leader in as far as revenge goes. But even for um like, okay, look at the the common folk, the peasants versus the upper class. Like,
Right,
they've been treated so poorly that they resulted to drinking the wine that's spilled on the street. Uh,
right.
um, they take revenge by you know
Having a
revolting,
revolution.
yes, against the the upper class, the nobles, and that's why even they like call back Darnay to get revenge for him to execute him. But although that doesn't obviously go as planned because of our homie G, uh Sidney Carton. But
Sidney Cart.
yeah. But yeah, definitely shows revenge as a big theme. So and honestly, we could also talk about how
Could be
it's
love.
also a love story, because you see love as a big theme, especially through Lucy and the whole Manette
Right.
family. They all express love for each other. Um, you know, uh, like,
They're caring for each other. They're there.
exactly,
They're
especially
ready to take on their challenges.
like the first thing you see in the even in the beginning of the book, how when Lori tells um Lucy that her father is still alive, and she goes to see him, and she like takes care of him because he has the
Uh,
PTSD
which,
from
which
prison.
she's never met her father yet either.
Really,
Like
yeah,
she
no,
thought she thought he was dead,
yeah, and so
and it's just you just see the love how she never knew him, but she still went and she cared for him as if she'd known him her whole life.
exactly, and she kind of helped him bring him back to, you
Right,
know,
get him back to his normal mindset, or
exactly,
not normal, but a better improved.
yeah, and also you see, as we've mentioned multiple times before, with Sydney Carton and Darnay about their love for Lucy and how that goes along the whole story. Which it's not a like usual love story because
It's not a
Dar
romantical, lovey, kissy
no,
type
because Darnay
love.
and Lucy get married pretty early in the book. Um, which I actually did not know that for a while. I thought they were. I didn't know they were all of a sudden already married. I guess I
Married.
missed that very important thing. But so it's not the same love. It's more of a family love, except for Sydney Carton, who still has
Right.
that hopeless love. So there's different types of love that is shown. There's the family love. There's like the love for you know the the peasant people,
Right. There's the
like,
love for the people, and then
yeah, and um there's like it's love as in like Sydney Card, this hopeless love that although he knows he'll never be with her or to like will marry her, he still loves her and will do anything for her and anybody that she loves.
she loves.
Yes. Um and and yeah, so um I mean with love and all different types of love. Honestly, we can shift this whole conversation into the next question, which is what is the theme of the novel and why did you select that theme? So we've already talked about the revenge and the love. There's also the theme of injustice, like with
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 all
the
the
peasant.
people.
Yes, the peasant people. They their injustice, like with the nobles. Like, okay, you look at
Right.
who was the what was the name of the guy who ran over the peasant? You talked about what was his name? I forget.
Um. Well, I
Uh,
mean,
it was the
let me
general name
find it.
for him.
Gasford was the guy.
The
Was
guy.
the father of the kid.
Yes.
There was
Uh,
no name for the child.
it it was like not Montesquieu. That's another dude. It's
That's a
like
different book.
it was yeah. It was just it's the whatever. It starts with an M. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But okay. So injustice is that like he runs over this peasant kid and he flicks him a
They didn't
coin.
care. Right. They
No.
didn't care. It was
So
no big deal to them.
yes, and then also if you look at Darnay, um, he was a uh nobleman from Paris, and the Evermonts killed uh whatever her name is, Madame Defarge. He killed their
Right.
family, but it's not like he did had anything to do with it.
It was his family, his past family.
Yeah, no. And so like when he gets called back to Paris and they capture him and then they he's
Chuck in prison.
yeah, like when they find the document from Mr. Manette saying that he was thrown in prison because he witnessed killing of the Evermonts. He is still
Right.
stuck with that family name, so whatever that family did, he was
He
getting
got
punished for it,
he just
unjustly
got
punished.
brought into it because he has the same name.
Exactly. And although he uh denounced denounced his title
Right.
as like a nobleman in France and moved to England, he still got stuck in that
Right.
same position with that family name attached to him. So it kind of shows the injustice of that. Um is there any there's another theme that I can't think of off the top of my head. Um,
Oh, I would talk about injustice
we talked about
and
love,
then
revenge,
and hate.
injustice. Oh, okay. So there is another thing that I just thought about. There's the theme of violence
Oh,
specifically.
for sure, for
So
sure.
so it's violence is symbolized by, you know, we could
The
take
wanting to
like
kill.
wanting to kill.
Madame Defarge wants to kill all the people who
Yes,
kill her family.
yes, and
That's
also the fact that the Defarges have um, the wine
shop.
place. I don't. What is it called?
I'm calling it a wine shop.
Okay, wine shop. Um, like the fact that the red wine, and it
And
spills
it's
all
blood. It
over the
looks like
street,
blood.
and then the dude writes blood on the side. Like that just symbolizes
Yeah,
like the violence that will ensue. Um, especially
in the future,
when, yeah, with the peasants and Madame Defarge resulting the violence to go kill
right?
Lucy
And then
and
she ends up getting killed herself.
yeah. Uh oh, I just thought of another good. This is actually one of the bigger ones that I've seen people talk about. It's the theme of resurrection. So,
Ooh, that's a good one.
okay, so you see resurrection in like let's say, okay, you see resurrection firstly in the fact that what's his name, Mr. Minette, he was trapped in
Yeah, how
prison.
he comes.
He
Yeah,
comes
he
out
comes
of
back.
prison and he kind of like Lucy helps him like resurrect into what he used
Right.
like his normal personality.
He becomes normal again.
Yes. Yeah, and you see resurrection also in the fact that how many trials and death sentences Darnay escapes with with that the first trial that we mentioned of Darnay, of them just like ending the trial because they show Sidney Carn and they can't prove that it was actually Darnay, and you know
Right.
and you also see, uh, there was one more, like, uh, person who was like resurrected that I am trying to think of. Um,
I
okay,
remember talking about him.
I know. I was just talking about well, as I cannot remember, we can move on to another theme. We've talked about this. What do you think would be the theme? So there's a theme of fate. How would you explain that would be?
I mean, well, like with Fate, you see, um, like I don't. I need to gather my thoughts here.
If you need, I can start in by giving you ideas. Okay, so you see, obviously the idea of fate as being like predestined, like
It's yeah,
your predestination of what's going to happen to
yeah.
you,
Hmm.
and the idea of fate being like a string, like from point A to
Right,
point B,
right, right,
and
right,
like
right.
you cut that and you
And you're
die.
dead. Right.
So obviously when we talked about having that golden thread being fate in general, that everyone's fate is connected through, you know like
Through
Lucy and
Lucy,
love, yeah.
she brings the good fate through. She is the good fate to all the people around her. She's bringing that hope
Yes.
and that joyfulness through her to the other people.
Yeah, and the people
And then
around her, like the people that try to go against that, like Madame Defarge, end up
they
dying.
they have bad their fate is bad because they're pursuing the wrong things in their life,
Uh huh.
and it's not gonna work out to their benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, okay, so I guess you could say, okay, Sidney Carn, right? I think he already knew his fate. His fate that he
Right.
would
He was
not
hopeless.
be with, you know, uh,
Lucy.
Lucy. Yes. So it's like this hopeless. hopeless fate that he won't be, but because of his love through the golden thread of you know Lucy,
Hmm.
he still does the good deed of
But he
sacrificing
does. You're right.
his life, yes, through love, which obviously that is not a bad thing. So it kind of shows the connection between like the Lucy, that if you're connected with her, that it brings like it's just good. And
It brings good things
yes, although he did die, it was still a sacrificial
for the
love.
better of Lucy's family.
Exactly. Yeah. And you see how it all worked out. Like the fact that Sydney was able to talk to the jail dude who was
Hmm.
the brother of Miss Pross, who is the servant of Lucy. So it's that still that thread that goes through
Right. She's bringing
them.
that
Yeah,
through all the
which
other people.
he was then able to take place, the exchange places with him in prison, and get him out of
Right.
there. And so I like that idea of fate. There, and I mean, there's also these little themes I guess you could talk about, social class and society,
Sure.
how it
Sure.
was. But I mean, we've pretty much hit
We've
that.
hit the big ones.
And also sacrifice. Actually, okay. Uh, we've hit 30 minutes, but there's one more topic that I think we can talk about, and then we can end the podcast off. And I don't even think we have to really think about much. So is Sidney Carton, our homie G, is he a Jesus figure?
Oh man. I
What do you
mean,
want to start, or do you want me to start?
I mean, you can start. I'll add some stuff here and there.
Okay, this is my opinion. Although he did pay the death penalty for Darney, like Jesus has paid the death penalty for us to save
Right.
our sins and for us to go to
Hmm.
heaven. And like how Darney was then able to live his life with Lucy. He was not a perfect sacrifice and is not the way to heaven. So although he kind of did the act,
Right.
or should we be saying that he was a Jesus figure just because he paid the
No,
price? Or
I,
is
I
that
would say no.
okay? So give your reasoning.
I'm going to say no because you can't like compare anybody to Jesus because Jesus was like a perfect man, whereas all men have sinned and we can't become perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas Jesus was perfect, so he was the sacrificial lamb for us.
Uh huh.
Even though Sidney Carton did sacrifice himself for the betterment of Lucy's family, he could only help that certain family for a certain situation. Whereas since Jesus died for us and our sins, he can help humanity because he took all of our sin from us if we trust and believe on him.
Yeah. So I don't see. Like maybe a Jesus figure is not the best way. Like sure, does Charles Dickens allude to the story of Jesus with him? I would say so, but I
Sure.
don't know how good it is to say, because we know Sidney Carton was um
A drunkard, and
exactly, and
he was not a perfect man.
his love for her was, although it was
It was
sacrificial
great. It
love,
was a great love.
it was still a love that's different than what Christ has
What
for
Jesus did
us.
for us.
Because he has God has agape love, which is
Sure.
like
Mm-hmm.
fatherly love, whereas he whatever his name is, Sidney Carton had the love of you know this is a girl.
Lover.
Yeah.
Right. He was a lover.
Yeah. So
A lover boy.
although it was I would say it's not the same type of love, and also we cannot even comprehend the love that
The
God
amount
and
of love
Jesus
that
love.
God has for us.
Yes, so we can't even compare the love that they have, that God has for us, to what uh Sidney Carton had for Lucy. And also the fact that he was just not a good person. and that's why he didn't believe that he could be with Lucy because he knew that
Right.
he was a bad person. But
Right. Right.
because obviously, if Jesus was not the perfect being, then he would not have been able to, he would not be the perfect sacrifice for us. So all of our sins would be, taken care of. And
Right.
so, although he does, I think he is a good allusion to Jesus Christ. Saying that he's a Jesus figure is a little bit,
Inaccurate.
a little bit like a sketchy line to cross. So to be
Sure.
safe, I would say no, but he definitely is alluded to.
Sure. You can see parts where yes he could be, and then where mostly he could not be.
Yes. Okay. I mean, we have hit 35 minutes. Do we think that is all right?
I mean, I think that's good. But I do have a question for you.
Okay. What is it?
My question is, would you recommend reading this book to anybody else?
Oh, that is a very, very good question. Because as I was researching to answer these questions, I definitely saw many things as is Tale of Two Cities hard to read? And did I click on those searches? No, but do I already have the answer? Yes, because it is very hard book to read because it is quite boring and I am not a book reader at all. So especially with like Charles Dickens, I don't know, man. I'm going to refrain from answering that because
Oh,
if
you.
it were someone like me, I would say no, don't read it. But if you really like
Well,
books,
I mean, that's the people who listen to this podcast are people
that's
like you.
that's true. I think I mean, if you yes, cuz I don't think if they're really into this book or are required to watch it for our grading process, that they would take much note into and much care into what we really think about the book. But yeah, what would you say, Jonas? Would you recommend the book to people?
Um, I mean, personally, I'm not a big book reader, but like, I enjoyed not reading it, but like seeing all the different, like how you can see all the different themes and how all the characters like worked together and interacted. It's just kind of like a. I thought like the plot and the stuff was good, but like reading everything, not for me.
Yeah,
But it was a good like. I don't know what word I'm looking for here. I thought it was good, but
sounds good.
I'm not going to recommend the book.
Yeah, that's
That's just
fair.
me, not a book reader.
That's very fair. I will say, now you brought that up, it was actually very interesting to see all the different characters. How like we talked about the thread, which at first I was a little bit confused about, but it actually makes
Right, but then
sense
you look
with
into it,
the
it
connection
makes sense.
with all of the characters and how they're connected in what way. That was interesting to see, but not interesting to read.
I would
Which
very much agree with you.
yeah, so would our summary videos recommended? Definitely.
Yes.
Is reading the book, I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm not
Not
going to
That's so
not
quite
recommend
sure.
it. I'm not going to say no, do not read this book, but I will not say
I
don't
would
read this book
agree.
unless you are an English going into an English teacher interview and they ask you what book you read. I would read this
I would
book
read.
just for that. But if you're going into cybersecurity or construction, I don't think you have to worry
Don't read
about.
the book.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that. Okay, well, we are about to reach the 40-minute mark, which is actually more than I thought we would get to, and I think that adequately answers not all the questions that we were given, but we've talked about
Most of them.
enough to show that we have an all right
A
shallow
complete
understanding of
understanding of the
yeah
book.
a deep analysis and complete deep dive uh understanding of the Tale of Two Cities written by Charles Dickens. Well, We thank you, Mrs. Dunn, for giving us the chance to do this right make this podcast instead of taking the test over
An exam.
a bunch of other stuff that I will definitely have not have studied
I
for.
definitely learned.
Yes, definitely. So thank you for giving us this opportunity, and so yeah, thank you, and thank you for watching the Tale of Two Cities podcast. We will definitely probably not be making another episode ever again, but it was a good time. All right, well,
Great times.
so thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Probably never.